Hi guys, Cameron here, and welcome to another video where we look at the stuff from the new edition. I've done a number of videos on this already, ones where we've looked at the new Hera model, ones where we have looked at the new Snow Troll model, as well as the orcs come with that. And then I've also done an unboxing and review of the core book, the Hob book. I've even done a tournament vlog. Today we are looking at the Lord of the Rings Army book that came out with this new edition. This is sponsored today from Kelpie Games. They sent it to me and they are the sponsors of this video. So please sit back, relax, we'll go to a top-down view and we can go through all the armies and everything that we have got in this edition. So without further ado, let's jump to a top-down view. And here we go. We have got the Middle-earth strategy battle game Armies of the Lord of the Rings, and the War of the Rohirrim. So we open it up and we're instantly met with a map, full map of the Middle-earth Tolkien's map, and then we flip it over and we see Helm Hammerhand's throne in Madhouse there. And we have the same artwork used again, as well as the content page, and then we go into our introductions for this, which will tell you how it all works and everything. Going into the forces of good then, we start off with the Free People, so we'll see our Frodo Baggins starting off our Free People and going into the other four hobbits, the other three hobbits of the Fellowship. And then we've got the Fellowship models just here. So we've got Gandalf the Grey, but then we also have Gandalf's cart here. We also have Aragorn Strider, so this is the new three hunters. But then we also have Brago down here, so a named horse for Aragorn, which I thought was quite good. The other two three hunters just here, Gimli and Legolas, with all their rules, points values, and all that sort of stuff. Boromir, still his old model. Oh, that's interesting actually. So that is from the Plastic Fellowship set. That's from the Plastic Fellowship set because they haven't had an update. But then these two are from the Treebeard. Gandalf the Grey hasn't had an update. Three Hunters have. We've got Boromir here because we haven't had a Plastic Boromir yet. And then we've got Bill the Pony. We then go into Bilbo Baggins, there we go, the Aging Hobbit, and Lobelia Sackville Baggins, and the other named from the films models that we've got here, the Hobbits, and we've got the three dogs just here. We do then have Barlam and Butterbur, who we always love, and the Gatekeeper of Bree. This is no longer Bill Ferny. In fact, this wasn't Bill Ferny, this was Harry Goatleaf, sorry. So for some reason, he's no longer called Harry Goatleaf. We then have got Smeagol, and then we go into Treebeard, where we have the Merry and Pippin again, and we have Beachbone, no model, and not even a picture on here, because if I remember correctly, this is Beachbone from the films. This is the model that they used to make their end, but it was actually Beachbone. This is also not Quickbeam anymore. This is Birchseed. So goodness knows what happened to Quickbeam. Maybe this is Quickbeam. That might have been what it was. I can't remember. We then have a repeat of Gwai here, the Great Eagle, and the fledglings that we saw in the Armies of the Hobbit. And then we go on to Rohan, starting off with our man, the myth, the legend, King Theoden himself. We've then got his son and his nephew, Éomer, as well as then Éowyn, Shield Maiden of Rohan. And then we've got Mary, or Mary Doc Brandenbuck, Esquire of Rohan. Gamling, Hammer, depends on which Hammer, Haleth, or Haleth, son of Hammer, and then we got Aldor. Then we go into the War of the Rohirrim stuff. So we've got Helm Hammerhand, King of Rohan. There is no model for this that has even been shown off as of the recording of this video. We got the two sons that are from the core box set. We then got Hera, Daughter of Helm. That has been shown off a good while ago, and she's got her horse, Ashir. That is waiting to come. And then we've got Olwyn, the Shield Maiden of Rohan. Fun fact, you see this little bit of water that is coming out here, if you're able to see that, with that little drain. That's where Saruman blows it up. The ground has risen so much over the years of this. We then got Leif, Page of Helm, and we got Freylaf, the first Marshal of the Riddermark. So we've got these two that we haven't seen either. Helm Hammerhand, Wraith of the Hornburg, and we've got Hera, the Bride of Death, which people are annoyed she doesn't come with a horse, but is what it is, and whatnot. We then got our captains, warriors, royal guard, riders. Hopefully we'll see a new plastic kit for the riders and new plastic kit for the royal guards, but I doubt it. We then go on to Gondor, and the rumour is we are getting a new plastic King Elisar model, but we will see. Denethor, Boromir, Captain of the White Tower, such a gorgeous model. And then we've got our new Faramir that came out in the Osgiliath box set, so the last starter set, as well as Gandalf the White with Shadowfax's rules, and then Peregrine Took, Guard of the Citadel. Irolas, and then we've got our Madril and Damrod. No other named Ranger heroes because they were legacied. And then into our kind of, I'll say, normal stuff. What I find funny is that the legacy is not called the Legendarium. Rangers of Gondor coming before Captain of Minas Tirith. Interesting. I've not noticed that before. Rangers and Osgiliath Vets. They are troops coming before a hero. Interesting. That is a captain, yes. Hero, yes. Interesting, okay, sure. But yes, the fact that we're not calling it Legendarium and we are calling it Legacy is really gutting for me. Then got the Last Alliance guys. Now here, this is still the conversion that they're using for the Captain of Numenor. It's just a spearman with a sword, that's all it is. And then we go on to the King of the Dead as well as the Heralds, which is good to have these in the same book with all these, because obviously when Gondor War came out, they weren't. Elven Kingdoms for the Lord of the Rings era stuff. We obviously have Gil-galad here, whereas in The Hobbit it was Elrond that started it off with. These are kind of just copied and pasted, but we do have things like Círdan. If I remember correctly, aging Bilbo was on this page, but obviously he was in the Hobbit stuff. Galadriel, Lady of Lothlorien, and having her mirror. Her mirror is now on a 40mm base, if I remember correctly, so you actually need to base that. Which is one of these things that they've taken in. Everything needs to have a base. And then we've got the rest of our Lothlorien stuff, or Elven stuff, sorry. We then come on to the army lists. So this is how they are doing army lists now. They are very similar to the old style legendary legions. So you don't get to pick what you want. You have to pick from this list. You can't just mash everything together, which, you know, I'm kind of very happy with that. Looking at these, are they from the Treebeard kit? I'm now double guessing myself. Maybe they're not. Yeah, they are. That Merry and that Merry are not the same. That Pippin and that Pippin aren't the same. So these ones are all the old ones. In fact, there's the old three hunters. So yeah, and Bill the Pony. But you've got the Fellowship just there. You've got the Shire, which is a very limited list because it isn't including any warriors at all. It is just the heroes that we've got. It's the named heroes. You can't take Gandalf on cart, but it's just the named heroes that we've got so far. We then have Road to Rivendell, which is, I'll say, a nice list. I do like the thematicness of it with everything that you've got in here. You do have Arwen, which does mean that she can take Frodo as a passenger, and you can ride with them. Breaking of the Fellowship is a list which now includes various things. So you've now got Haldir, which you never used to have in here, and you've got some Elven warriors. So it used to just be the Fellowship itself, but now this is kind of like the little bit after Moria and on the way to Amenhem, depending on what time you're taking. Kingdom of Rohan, we then have the Lord of the Rings era Rohan stuff that you'll know and love, and then we have Road to Helm's Deep. So this is a more thematic riders with unarmoured Theoden and the like, and then Legolas and Gimli can go on horseback, if I remember correctly, together. We then have Defenders of Helm's Deep. Again, this is still Lord of the Rings era stuff. It's the Haldir's elves and the Rohan. And then we have the Ride Out, which is kind of your mounted list with Aragorn and Armoured King Theoden going out. And then we have Riders of Aermere. I've been told that this has had a massive buff from previously what it was. You got your Gandalf the White in there as well, but it's not one that I've played. Riders of Theoden, so this is the Pelennor Fields style thing by the looks of it, where you've got your named heroes and just a load of cavalry. We then have Army of Edoras. Now this is going into the War of the Rohirrim era stuff, so we have Helm Hammerhand as well as his kids going in. Defenders of the Hornburg, so this is them in Helm's Deep itself, trying to defend it and make sure everything's okay. And we do have Helm Hammerhand, the Wraith of the Hornburg, and Hera, the Bride of Death. So this is the later on in the films side of things. Minas Tirith, just here. We've got all the things that you kind of would expect with Denethor being in there, Boromir, Captain of the White Tower, and so on. And then we have Garrison of Ithilien. So this is almost like Rangers of Ithilien. It's not 100% the exact same, but I reckon I will be taking this probably a little bit more now that there's the thematic stuff and whatnot, and you can take a few bits and bobs, and not take a few bits and bobs, so we'll certainly see. Reclamation of Osgiliath. Now, this was actually where my Rangers of Ithilien list was meant to be. Kind of, this was the idea of it, was I wanted it to be kind of taking over Osgiliath, so I might run this list rather than the Rangers of Ithilien, but I do really like the Rangers, so we're going to have to see how that all works out in terms of bow limits and what their rules are. We then come into Atop the Walls, so this is Gandalf the White defending Minas Tirith during the War of the Ring. Return of the King, so this is the list that we know and love. If I remember correctly, there hasn't been any changes to this, and having a quick look here, there isn't, but we may well have a couple of special rules changes there. Defenders of the Pelennor, so this is, by the looks of it, Pelennor Fields essentially. Anything and everything that was at the Pelennor Fields, you'll be able to take in this list. And then we have Men of the West. So this is the Battle of the Black Gate, although is there? No, there isn't a Battle of the Black Gate. Battle of the Black Gate, so you do get your Eagles, you get Gandalf the White, your 3 Hunters, so on and so forth. So anyone that was at the Black Gate would have had this. Eowyn shouldn't be in this list. I'm looking very quickly. No, she's not, because she's in the healing baths or whatever they're called, which is good. Numenor, so your Second Age stuff, trying to kill Sauron, what do you expect from that? And then you've got your Lindon stuff here, which is, I'm going to say Rivendell, but it's not just Rivendell. And there you actually have your just Rivendell list. We then have the Last Alliance, so that is elves and men at once taking on the forces of Sauron during the Second Age, and then you've got your Lothlorien list here with Galadriel, Celeborn, Haldir's here as well. And then we have got our Fangorn list. Now, Fangorn is quite good because you have different Ents that you can take that do different things. So if you take 4 Ents, you can take one of each of these, which I think is just kind of a cool wee side thing that they've done with it. We've then got the Eagles. I haven't even looked at this, but I know that this is top tabling in a lot of places. So as far as I understand, this is a very strong competitive list. It is hitting hard. And then we have the Realms of Men, which includes an extra profile here, which is men, and you can choose, sorry, kings of men, and you can choose which kingdom they come from: Gondor, Rohan, Arnor, Dale, or Numenor. And that is them. We then go on to the Forces of Evil. But wait, this video is sponsored by Kelpie Games. So we will go to a quick sponsor section, and then we'll come back and have a look at the Forces of Evil. So, Kelpie Games, who are they? They are a local gaming store up in the north of Scotland. You can see all their stuff in the background. They have a number of different games, systems, hobby materials. You can play games there for a very easy kind of day. It's absolutely fantastic. They have got a Facebook, Discord, and you can just buy things from them from Google. Please check them out. They are Kelpie Games, and they have sponsored today's video. Well, there we go. You've got to pay the bills one way, and you've got to get some nice things. So we have got the Forces of Evil now. This is obviously your Mount Doom and everything that you've got. So we'll go straight into Mordor. And there is our lovely red ribbon. This has not been used before, so it's one of these things that was just lying out, or hasn't been lying out, but it will be from now on. So Sauron, Big Daddy Sauron, 400 points. I think he's the most expensive model in this list, in this book, with only Smaug beating him. But Big Daddy Sauron just there, along with then our Witch King of Angmar, as well as a Fell Beast's stats. We then got Ring Wraiths, and you can obviously choose the Might, Will and Fate, Lieutenant of Gothmog, going into the other, I'll say Orc heroes, as well as the Mouth of Sauron. Shelob, you got Lover, and then the Shagrat, Captain of Cirithungol, as well as Gorbag. A couple other orcs, and we can just keep going with that. This is an orc that I don't actually recognise. It's a Morannon orc captain, but it's not one that I know of. Almost skipped a page. And then we go on to our trolls, and I'll say just more Uruk-hai, so the standard stuff. Easterling Captain and Easterling Warrior. That's right, the Easterlings are in the Mordor section just now. And then we go into Isengard with that lovely new Saruman, the new plastic one there, as well as Grima. Lurtz, Ugluk. Now we're missing the other Uruk-hai named captains because they were taken out, and we've got these orcs with then the Uruk-hai Scout Captain with the two-handed axe. This is one that we hadn't really seen for a good while. It was an unreleased model, and now we have it. Continuing on, we then keep on going. That's the thing. Maybe they are just doing it a bit weirdly. So we've got the Uruk-hai Scout stuff there. And then we come on to the Uruk-hai Captains with the Uruk-hai Warriors. It's just a strange thing to see the captains mixed in with the stuff. Uruk-hai Demolition Team, there's no photo for this, which is a bit strange considering they do actually make a model for it, but it is there. And then we go into our wargs, which there is a list for these if I remember correctly. A couple of orcs, which is just there, and then we have our Crebanes, so the Dunlin stuff is then mixed in with the Isengard. So we have the Wildman Oathmaker, Wildman Chieftain, which there isn't a model for, which is really annoying that they make one of these guys a captain, but there is no model, so how do we distinguish it? But you then go on to the Hill Tribesmen, and you will see a repeat of that sort of stuff. You've got Wolf, Freka, his dad. You've then got General Targ, and you've got Lord Throne of the Wold. Sorry. Is it Throne? Thorn. Lord Thorn of the Wold. Goodness me, dyslexia is a killer. So you can take Traitor Rohan in his army, which is quite nice. We have the Hill Tribesman Chieftain, and then Hill Tribesmen, which are just the exact same as Wild Men, but they're called Hill Tribesmen. We then got a Traitor Rohan models here, which are exactly the same as Rohan models. They just have a red cloak by the looks of it. And then we go into our Merry, Pippin, and our Snow Troll. Sorry, Shank, Rot, and our Snow Troll. These were played by Dominic Monaghan and Billy Boyd in the film. The Misty Mountains, or as it looks to be currently, Moria. I was hoping for a new Watcher in the Water, similar to the one that we got, or we saw in the War of the Rohirrim, but maybe not. I don't know if that's coming. Cave Trolls, they have moved up to 50mm bases. They used to be on 40s, now they're on 50s. That's something that has changed, and it's something to keep note of. The Fallen Realms. So, Mummock War Leader. This is a kit. Where is my picture of my Mummock? I like my Mummock, and actually it's 400 points. So it is the same. I kind of spoke too soon, because there it is, but there's also the other Mummock and all the Harad stuff and everything. So we've got all the rules and whatnot. Fine, I'll take it back. There it is. For it, and then there are the rest of the Harad stuff that we've got, because we don't have Riders, we don't have any of the named, we don't have any of that. Corsair Captain and Corsair Bosun. I'm wondering if this is meant to be Peter Jackson. It looks very similar to the Peter Jackson that got shot by Legolas, but I'm not 100% sure. Corsair Zarumbar and Corsair Ballista. There's a Ballista. What? Yep, that's exactly my thoughts. Fine. Army lists of Lord of the Rings. We've got Barad-dûr, so starting off with the Big Daddy himself, Dark Lord Sauron, along with a load of other things. So you've got bloody everything, to be fair. You've got Lord Sauron, Witch King, Ring Wraiths, and then just all your orc stuff as well as your catapults and everything. Black Riders, this was a very good list if I remember correctly when it came out. I own it, I've never played it, and I need to be fair. That is something I would like to do. Wraiths on Wings, this is a new army list for this edition, and to be fair, the monsters have had an absolute overhaul, and the Fell Beasts are classed as monsters now. So you can take them on wings and they can do a load of stuff, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So I might try and play that at some point, but I only own one Fell Beast. Army of Gothmog, so this is your Pelennor Fields sort of stuff, bombarding the walls of Minas Tirith. You've then got your Legions of Mordor, which is pretty much your soup list. So include absolutely everything you can. This is probably your Pelennor Fields, but like closer to the end when you have the Mummock in it, and the Harad. Minas Morgul, so you've got your Witch King, you've got your Spectres, that sort of stuff, or you've got your Ring Wraiths, it's not just your Witch King, and then a load of Orcs. Cirith Ungol, so what do you expect? You've got Shagrat, you've got Gorbag, you've got Shelob, you've got Orcs, and you've got Uruk-hai, simple as. We then have the Black Gate, so this is what fights against the good armies that we saw earlier, and we have all that lovely juicy stuff. Army of the White Hand, this is Saruman, so this is kind of your Uruk-hai raiding force, almost. It has wargs, it has, well, in fact, this is probably your Isengard soup is probably the easiest way to describe this. You've got absolutely everything that you can take, and then you go on to the Scout Legion. So you've got Lurtz's Scouts, you've then got Ugluk's Scouts as well, back to back. Kind of, we know what to expect from these from the previous edition. Wolves of Isen, so this is Sharku, well, taking the wargs of Isengard to the wargs attack. We then have the Muster of Isengard. This is kind of Saruman and Grima standing on top of the Orthanc going, let's ride out to Helm's Deep and take them, but you do get your scouts and whatnot in there as well, so it is slightly different to what I would say the film looks like, but it's close enough. We then actually have Assault on Helm's Deep, so this is everything that you can take, which came to Helm's Deep. It's not a surprise. The only heroes that you've got are Urukai captains in this list. It's kind of very similar to what we had before. Usurpers of Edoras, so this is when you get to take Lord Thorn, and you get your traitor Rohan, along with Wolf and Targ. You can take Freka, and your Hill Tribes chieftains and all this sort of stuff. So that is in here, and I am very tempted to do this army list myself. You then have the Besiegers of the Hornburg, which is anyone who went up against Helm Hammerhand in the film. You do have your Snow Troll, your Rot and what's his name? Shank, Rot, and your Snow Troll there, as well as your Hill Tribesmen. Depths of Moria. We've got the Balrog. You've got your Moria captains and whatnot. This is everything that is in Moria. You even have your Watcher. So it is kind of that sort of stuff. Harad. Exactly what you think. Mummox. Screw everything else. You're just taking Mummox. We love it. And then we have the Corsairs fleet here. So this is when you're going to have your Corsairs Ballista, which I would love to see what they're using, because they have not shown it here for what they are using for the Corsair Ballista. Then you come here, got a lovely picture of Ian Holm there at the very end, and it's very nice. This is a nice glossy paper. This then turns to paper, and then you hit the back of the book with everything. And here you've got your blurb with all that. So there we go. That is the Armies of Lord of the Rings, as well as the War of the Rohirrim army book with the army lists, all the profiles. We've gone through absolutely everything. It is there for you. Well, there we go. You have now seen everything that comes out of this book, Armies of the Lord of the Rings. All the profiles, all the army lists, the fact that it is that thick. Yeah, you've now seen everything front to back. There's the back of this book, and you now know exactly what you're getting and what profiles are in this book, and kind of the joys of having the multiple books. You will know exactly what you are getting with these books, and all I can say is you're welcome. Thank you for watching. There's nothing really more for me to say here or do other than please like, comment, subscribe, go to my Patreon, because why not? Follow me on Instagram. I'm on OnlyHands. And all I can say is thank you to Kelpie Games for sponsoring me this wonderful book, as well as the rest of the stuff from the War of the Rohirrim. It is greatly appreciated from them, so please do check them out in my description as well. Send them some love, and yeah, buy some stuff from them. Keep them in business. It's always a good thing. But until next time, whatever next time it may well be, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and bye-bye.